Now, the good thing about this list is it'll keep you out of trouble. After 15 years of being a brand consultant, this is the roadmap. These four buckets keep appearing, and to be honest, I can't disprove it, so there must be some level of truth to it. Give me half hour. I don't know how long it's going to take, but I'll be quick, I promise. Okay, so generosity. Now, begin with generosity. There are three ways that I think best kind of capture how to do that. The first one, it's a good thing to be associated with generosity. When you're an intern, when you're just starting out, when you're starting a new business venture, it's best to give, kind of free work. You can do, because you got a lot of time on your hands, so you're either time rich but cash poor. So the easiest way to do it is be associated with, that guy will go above and beyond. Like if you're reaching out to clients, rather than just do cold DMs, maybe take the initiative and do something. Their free gift, not just in a lead magnet sense, like lead magnets are definitely part of that. Lead magnet works, but like ultimately you want to be generous with your time to understand the problem. You want to that kind of early scrappy founder mentality, and also just like kind of intern level, but just like keen and hungry. So that would be first one. So it would be association. And if people start associating with generosity, then they're going to give you a break. Like everyone's been there, everyone's stacked shelves and everyone's made coffee. And they understand that if you're coming in with a generous attitude, it's good for business and they'll probably trust you. So yeah, leading on from that, once you've done that, you want a reputation for being generous. So what that would mean is, say you do actually have some clients where you do actually, reputation. Say if you do actually have some clients or you're working with people, you want to have a reputation for being for over delivering in a good sense, for being generous with your time, making, when you're with them, they feel like you're really there they're not just on a procession wheel or on a flywheel through, and you're just kind of iterating, taking the money and chucking them. It's important to be decent, essentially. And that reputation will be, if you're being generous and you're being generous, then it's very hard to kind of ruin your reputation. It's very hard to be bad. If you're being disingenuous, you're probably trying to do something that's actually working in having a negative effect on your reputation. So being generous with your time, and then when you have a customer or you are doing something, having a great reputation by working really hard and being generous with your energy and your calories, like really being focused and over delivering, and showing people that you care. And the third one is just going back to, we live in a world of very low trust at the moment. There's a low trust everywhere. AI and automation in terms of like cold outreach and stuff, and just a lot of people may be parroting a lot of information. There are great people out there that know loads of things, but in general, there's a lot of kind of fakery and people stealing stuff, people just repurposing stuff, remixing stuff, that kind of thing, lifting and just kind of going with it. So upfront value, the easiest way to do that is, yes, lead magnets, that kind of thing, like help people, jump on calls, get in the weeds with people. But I would also say YouTube, or just like long form, where you can't really fake it. Branding takes guts. Generosity, understanding, trust, significance. I have this drilled into my head. It's like littered in my post-it notes. I've got articles on LinkedIn. I've got endless docs where I've gone really deep on this. And I think this is one of the best frameworks I've come up with. And it's really fast, which is great. We use it in Sprint Depth. It's like a really quick way just to check, like, where are we, what are we doing, and how does it work? If you have no skills at all, then your upfront value is your time. If you have some skills, then your upfront value is giving free things to help kind of build a bit of credibility in the space. If you have money, then upfront value, you want to show the process almost, to kind of educate and teach, that kind of thing. So that would be number one for generosity. So the next one is understanding. Now, I would call this, the easiest way to remember this would be understand and then over deliver. Like, really important. Once you know what the problem is, go hard and go deep. Like, you want someone, say if you're doing a bit of free work from the generosity side of things, and you know that there's a client that's got a problem. So say you're doing a little rebrand or an ident, whatever, probably, or any kind of thing, but specifically in the design world, you see it like an opportunity. You want to kind of go and do that and actually do it. Don't do like shit work. What if you actually try to solve it for the fee that they have not given you? Like if you waived that fee and you just tried to do it, that is how you get in rooms. It's not really a trick, but that's what we use. That's what I've done my entire career, is understand that someone needs something and then basically give it to them, or give it to them to a level of fidelity that it's like, you can talk about, that they can almost take the idea and run with it if they need to, but then that kind of level of trust or that kind of understanding, they'll suddenly be like, oh shit, right, this guy knows his shit. He's passionate. He's being generous with the stuff. He understands the problem and he's over delivered. It's a good way to stay focused and on the straight and narrow, because you can't over deliver if you're trying to scam somebody. You can't be generous with your time if you're being a bit of a charlatan. So easy way, I've mentioned this again, but I'm going to drill it home, are the four L's. So you have to understand any problem. 99.9% of problems, I think, can be solved, in my opinion, by these four L's. Now, the first one is the easiest one, which is live the experience. If you've lived the experience and if you've got a six-pack, you know how to get a six-pack. You can share that information. I can talk about branding from the ground up because I've done it a million times. I can talk about running a business or running an agency or running a service business because I literally have done it and have been doing it and have run my own business for 9 years. I've been full-time employment. I've transitioned to freelance. I've been a brand consultant. I can talk about all these things. I don't really think I'm the guy to do that. I don't really think that's my audience. Maybe that's not where I'm best served. But if I ever have a conversation with somebody who's a little bit younger and asks me advice, not I'm really in the business of giving advice, but I can help that. So lived experience, you can't bullshit me because you can't bullshit a bullshitter. But also, like I've literally done it, documented, no bullshit. So if you live the experience, that'll help you understand what other people need. So next one would be learn from the market. So learn from the market is an easy way to essentially, if your motivations happen to mirror the conditions of the market, so like let's say if you happen to be really good at coding and developing, and then you learn that that's what people want from a vibe coding AI situation, you're going to be very well positioned to go deep. Next one would be look at the data. So you can obviously do keywords and stuff like that. That's like top level. You can work with people and see what kind of clients are occurring. You can data in any format, like is this water boiled? Is there bubbles rising from the bottom? Could be classed as data. Yeah, it's information, essentially. Another word for data is just information. So what information is available to you? So if you've lived the experience and you've learned from the market, then now how can you use that to be able to process that data? So if people are talking about sprint branding or sprints or quick branding, quick solutions, fast ideas, fast ideation, blah, 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 as a long tail keyword, then that would give me signal to facilitate or to corroborate, that all these things are coming together to make sense. Next one would be listen to the customer. So obviously when you first start out, you want to live the experience, learn from the market, you go deep, you find out everything. Then you look at the data, what are people doing, where are people hanging out? And then you listen to the customer. You might not have customers at the moment, but when you do have a customer, ask them for feedback. Ask them what they enjoyed, what they didn't enjoy. Which is, we've done a workshop where we asked somebody and they were like, yeah, didn't really work. And it's like, okay, fair enough. Wasn't quite the ICP, but I appreciate the honesty. We can learn from that. Like we can understand there are bits that went wrong. That's how you grow. Like if you're not ready for that, then unfortunately you're going to build stuff that no one wants. And I've been there, and it's it's a waste of everybody's time and resources, to be honest. So there are the 4 L's that you can use within understanding. So generosity, understanding. The next one is trust. Trust, I would add to that, and that would be trustworthiness. So trust is cool, but trustworthiness is where it's at. It's annoying that that's on one line, isn't it? So what is trustworthiness? Just to define it, you've heard it before, and we were told not to do this in school, but worthy of trust. Trustworthiness beats trust. Why? I think that there is a modicum of trust delivered in almost every part of society. When you walk down the road, you trust that the cars aren't going to veer off to the left and run you over. When I go to the pub, I trust that the barman's not going to spit in my glass. If I go shopping, people are trusting me not to walk around in my underwear, that kind of thing. Like, there's a level of trust in society that needs to work, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to walk down the street and not trust that guy's going to eat you or stab you or steal your things. That deep caveman mentality is still in us. We've just suppressed it with society. So I think trust is cool, but like it's a bit of a buzzword. Whereas trustworthiness, there is a level of experience baked into that, and there is a level of almost you have to have come into contact with that person or that entity, that idea, that business, that solution. So I think that's a slightly better way to frame it. Now, how can we tactically break trustworthiness down into 3 things? First one would be competence. Now, the nature of competence is that you are competent at what you do, meaning that you put in the reps. If you have never played tennis and then you go and play tennis in front of a crowd, they'll know immediately. If you say you can ride a horse and then you get on a horse, they will know immediately. Same as if you say you know how to sell, or say you know how to read data, or say you know how to code, for instance, and then you vibe code and then something goes wrong, they'll know. So that level of competence is how people build trust, essentially. Like, they have to experience it, or you have to show it or display it. So I know about branding. That's all I really know how to do. Like visual and verbal branding, strategy and creative. That's pretty much it. So hopefully I can talk into this camera for half an hour, and that would display at least a little bit of competence that maybe helps someone build a bit of trust, or at least this video might put me 1% forward with an audience that maybe I'm worthy of trust, right? So get competent stuff. You have to be a wizard, but get competent at little bits, and then that you have absolutely dialed, that go into your muscle memory that you don't have to think about, right? Drills, repeat. Break it down into little chunks and then become competent. The next one would be experience. Ooh. So again, if people, and this isn't this isn't your experience, if people have experienced you, so basically if you've had people run through, let's say reviews, or if people have left a review, I still need a haircut, as you can see, and I'll go to a barber that's got a good review. If I go to a restaurant, I'm going to review it, because you want to know that experience that you're going to have with your finite time and resources is worth it. It's trustworthy and worthy of your time, money, energy, and enjoyment. So how can you facilitate that experience for other people and then document that, right? That's this. You have a credible level of experience. There's a credibility that comes from the competence that you display and the experience people have with you. And that kind of brings me on to the third one, which is evidence. So we touched on a little bit on the first one, but get reviews, get testimonials. One of the biggest regrets of my early career was I didn't get testimonials. I've worked at 20 plus agencies, 20 plus brands, big and small, like really big ones, lovely brands, cool ones. And I just didn't do it. I didn't really know. And it's my own fault. I accept full responsibility for it. But it came late to the game. And you have to send that awkward, hey mate, I know we worked together 3 years ago, but could you give me a review? What was the best thing? And they just don't reply. I've had a lot of that too. So get evidence. All these digital guru marketers, the reason why they make so much money when you buy a course or whatever is because they have 15,000 video selfies being like, they're amazing, oh I learned so much, God, it's so good. That's the way to do it, right? So that can form a triangle. I would say in order of, you want to get competent in something first, because you're going to get bad evidence. And when people experience you not competent, that's also going to have a knock-on effect. If someone has a bad experience, they're going to tell 10 people, rather if they have a good experience, they might tell 1 or 2, and maybe they recommend. So competence, experience, and then evidence after that. So we've done generosity, we've done understanding, we've done trust, worthiness. Next would be significance. Now, the easiest way to think about it is the mantra of I can't live without this. Now, when you've got a significant, it doesn't mean you have to be like a big brand. It doesn't mean you have to be, the water company, the energy company, the gas company is pretty significant, because if they turned it off, you'd realize. but it doesn't have to be like that. You know, if you think about, there are some books that I've read or some authors that have been massively significant in my like life or career or and so on and so forth. So we can break it down in a couple of different ways. And if you want to kind of get to this level, it's not necessarily like, you know, we're not building cults here, you know, we're not being mental, but you just have to have something that is, you're solving a problem that has a significant almost gap. If you stopped delivering that, people would notice. People would be like, damn, that was good. I really enjoyed that. Like when your favorite content maker or your favorite creator, content maker, favorite YouTuber doesn't post a video, you're like, where the fuck's this video, man? Like, what's going on? That little hole, that's significance. So first, now there are 4 versions, but I only do 3, and I'll explain. So the first one is to give significance. Now this is the most maybe altruistic, virtuous, selfless way. And I would say that you can give significance to a person in their life by teaching them something. So if you become a teacher, or you impart some kind of wisdom, or you help someone get through something, that could be in forms of a paid service. It doesn't have to be mental. It can even be a haircut. You know, when you have a really good haircut and you feel, I mean, I wouldn't know what that means right now, flipping it. If you do something for somebody in a service or deliver some kind of X or solve some kind of X, then you can, usually in the form of teaching or deliver or service, then if you can give significance to someone in their life, then that makes it that's a very sticky thing to do. And it can really help build that sort of brand salience that people come back and they come back and back for more because you're actually solving a problem. So give is the first one. The next one is to have significance. Now, that's spelled wrong, isn't it? Significance. Why? Signified. Wow. How long have I just sat with that? Sorry. It is live. Oh, it's all going to shit. Next one is have significance. Now, let me break that down. So having significance, going back to the water energy thing, let's say Apple, like everything, I'm running this through my laptop. I've got my phone over there. There's a significance in that. They have got me because they have significance in my life. I've let them into my sort of brain and my environment. So let's say this can be, I would kind of describe that as tools. So you've got teaching and let's enrich that slightly with service. And then I'd say tools. So what is a significant tool or piece of equipment or thing? Even if it's in, again, how can you do it? Have significance in a person's routine, going to that behavior, going back to behavior shifts that I spoke about in my last video. If you can have a significance in a person's routine, so say it's a gym, say it's coffee in the morning, say it's, the fruit man on the way home from the tube. Like, is there something in a routine? Brushing your teeth, Colgate, yes, it's commodity, but I'm going to be buying it. Or whatever we use. Don't think it's Colgate. Oh, it's the baking soda one. Anyway, have significance in a person's life, have significance in a person's routine or their environment or ecosystem. And, people, it takes a while to get in there. You can't just like shoehorn your way in. You could be like, I've made a bag, or I made a pair of shoes. But if that's just a commodity, they won't have significance in the same way that maybe like a Louis Vuitton handbag does to a girl who's just got their first paycheck. It's like, remember that? It was like a big thing. The first paycheck you got with your first job, I know loads of my girl mates who did it. I think my wife did too, actually. You go out and buy a handbag with your first paycheck. It's like a thing, okay? And there's nothing wrong with that. That's a thing I'm aware of. And there's a behavior, and they have significance in that. But if you just release a bag, people probably aren't going to do that. So they're the first 2. And then have significance, give significance, and then find significance. Let's scroll up a little bit. So find significance. Let's spell that a bit better. This is mostly can be boiled down to purpose. So a love of the work, or like just the act of service. So finding significance in something you do. So maybe you begin like doing something and you don't really like it, or maybe you begin just for money, which is fine. It's a fine thing to try and do something just for money. in the start, and then eventually you kind of fall in love with the craft and you get over like a hump. I think maybe when it starts to be a little bit internalized and you have like you're not thinking about the rules anymore. Like if you play guitar, like when you're not having to think where your fingers are going to play a chord, you're then maybe you know where you are in your songs and you can sort of lose yourself a bit in it. And it's like work that feels like play, to be a bit Naval Ravikant kind of wise. Like it begins to feel fun, and then you find a lot of purpose from it. Like being a baker, the bakers who stay in it for 30 years, they have an obsession with it, right? It becomes a way of life. How they talk about flour, how they talk about temperature, how they talk about yeast. And you suddenly, when you're around anyone who's found purpose in something, it literally doesn't matter if it's bloody unfolding paper clips into straight lines. I think Aweiwe did that with structural beams. Anyway, like it becomes art in Aweiwe's sense. It literally became art. But like anything and everything, gardening, cleaning, like the pressure washer thing, it becomes like a sense of purpose and enjoyment from it. People get a lot of purpose from doing very quote unquote mundane things from the outsider, and that doesn't have to be creative stuff from like drawing and stuff. It can be getting a lot of fun from doing Excel. Like there's endless ways, right? So when you find significance in that, what will happen is people will find that very interesting and intriguing, and will probably want to be involved in that. Like if the algorithm serves me up something and I'm watching it, I'm like, wow, that guy's doing so. I'm like, wow, cool. I want to do that. I want to learn that. Obviously, I'm sure we forget it and whatever. But every now and again, you'll see a guy who'll draw or do like a time-lapse drawing, and you're like, I'm going to draw. So that love of the work and that purpose is potent. It can transfer and it can affect behavior and it can bring people in. And especially just like seeing someone, love the work is very good. So if you can find significance as a brand, people will want to join in. So what we've had: have significance, give significance, and find significance. Now the other one, obviously, the elephant in the room is be significant, which I don't believe in. I want to be very clear about this. I don't think be significant is good. Why? Well, you become a cult very quickly. I do branding for a living, and when people start talking about charismatic leaders or people that have a bit of a cult vibe, bit of a culty energy, it means that they are the significant. They are the bottleneck to the ideas. It's you can't do this without me. Energy, rather than I can't live without this. Like, you can see the difference, right? You can't do this without me, which is like, here I am, come in, or I can't live without this. They're different, and I think that's really important to know. Like, we'll leave it at that. I'm sure you can imagine there's lots of playbooks, there's lots of videos, and there's lots of people that demonstrate a lot of the you can't do this without me energy. I don't think that's very appropriate, and I don't think it's that good. Moving on. Right, and the final one, and why I say in that order, is because if you try and be significant from day one, you're going to end up like a charlatan. You're not really going to understand the problem because you're just coming in from cold with your ideas and what you want the world to change in your way, and you're just going to try and strong arm it, muscle it through, and that's not going to happen. You're going to be untrustworthiness because no one knows who you are. You have no rep. You've not time-stamped your values. You've got no digital reputation. You've got no personal brand. So no one's going to really be very trustworthy of that. And if you can't just display one video of competence or one kind of thing where you just pretend like you've done it. It has to be iterative over time on many different platforms or touch points that people can exist on your content or exist in your ecosystem. And yeah, there's just no way to understand a problem really fast. Like, experience is the way. You can get a good gauge on it to get started, but there's no way you can go deep on someone who's had 10, 15 years experience by just reading one book. Like, knowledge of what doesn't allow knowledge of how. So generosity, understanding, trustworthy, significance in that order. And it spells guts because, to be honest, to do anything in this world takes guts. Like, you are going to fail a lot. You're going to be a bit embarrassed. Your ego is going to hurt. Your pride's going to hurt. You're going to have to like launch something and then change it and pivot. Been there. And you're going to have to like try stuff that your friends are going to be like, why are you doing that? And you're going to be like, oh no, I believe in this. I want to do this. I want to go. Your friends and family are going to tell you not to do it. And it's going to be a lot easier to quit. But if you stick with it, then you will achieve eventually. And I'll say it again, to do anything in that realm takes guts.